Hello, and welcome back to I'm Glad You're Here. Today's episode is with Tess Palma-Martinez, a sound healer, embodiment coach, a deeply knowledgeable individual who now resides in Costa Rica. In this episode, we talk about finding harmony within yourself. There's a lot of conversation around frequency, composite frequency, and I love the kind of metaphor that Tess creates for us. And we also get some practical wisdom on how to start sensing our frequency, what that means, and what that can start to look like. There's this overall topic on noticing the things that just aren't working for us and allowing the things that come easy and natural to be just that, easy and natural. I really hope you enjoy this conversation, and I know I learned and got a lot out of it. I hope you do as well. So let's get on to the episode. Wow, Tess, so incredible. I'm so happy for you and really, really grateful to have you on this podcast and part of my journey as well.
Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. I remember when you approached me and you were like, can I learn what you're doing? And I was like, of course. And just spending those weeks with you was really beautiful to get to know you and then to see you since then and to see this blossoming and the different paths that you're exploring in the podcast. And having a podcast really helps to strengthen one's clear frequency because you're learning how to communicate yourself. You're learning how to use your voice in a way that you can't stop and stutter and redirect and all of those filler words, and it's not necessary. So this is another muscle that you're training yourself in, of clear communication.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful that you're witnessing it too, that you're there for my sound healing training. You're here for this journey. It's a lot. It's taking up space and it's exciting, but totally different for me.
And you can totally do it. You are so capable and also needed in the world.
Oh, appreciate you. And you are so needed. And this is my first recording, and I am super honored and excited to be having you as my first guest. It means a lot. You are such an inspiration for me in the spiritual space. I found you in this time of deep healing, and it just felt so natural to have you on, but also really early on as I'm dipping my feet into this new venture. And you're someone that really embodies yourself and your intuition. And I just can't wait to dive into everything you have to offer.
I'm so happy to be here, and I'm very proud of you too for taking all the steps and moving through the healing that's necessary.
Thank you. Yeah, I kind of feel like, so we did sound healer training together, and the feeling that I have going into this reminds me of when I did my practice session after 4 or 5 sessions, just working on content and understanding the power of sound. And it was finally time to do an actual sound bath. And I wasn't nervous. I wasn't over excited. There was just this kind of mellow feeling. This is out of my comfort zone, but this is the direction that I'm going. So here I go.
You're ready. That's the energy of readiness.
Yes. So I'd love to start. You were so much more than a sound healer. I'd love for you to kind of give your background on your offerings, what you do, and we'll start with that.
Yeah, well, thank you. So it's interesting to see the evolution of things. And when we were working together, what I was offering, now I feel so much more fine-tuned in what I offer and allowing myself that evolution and really becoming clear on the frequency that is my truth, my true essence. And that seems to be the common thread through all of the work that I do, whether that's in sound healing, helping people to release all of the layers that we have around us just from society and our upbringings and all of that, to really connect to your subconscious, understanding who you are at that core level. And in a sound bath, like you said, there's something deeper there. And there's a lot of potential within sound healing, whether you know how to use it or not, but especially if you know how to utilize those frequencies for deeper healing and creating new neural pathways. And within my sound healer trainings, and I'm now hosting a training in June of 2024 here in Nosara, Costa Rica, where I've since moved out of LA and I now live in the jungle. And I'm excited to be sharing the frequency of this jungle in tandem with the frequency work that I'm training within the retreat. And then my newest offering, which feels the most, it's not like I hadn't tried to do mentorship before, but it feels so much more anchored and clear and grounded in what I'm doing now. And I really stepped into the space of manifestation because that is something that I've been working on for 4 years now through a program called To Be Magnetic, and really helped to align and connect with myself. And then I was invited to be on their wildly successful podcast. And from that was essentially being asked by the listeners to help them because they could see a different way that I was moving through the TVM work and my own perspective on manifestation. And I've since had, I don't even know how many clients I have right now. It's like at 12. And then every day I have more people reaching out to me. And it just feels really seamless and easy. And that's an energy that I've been tapping into, especially within the last 6 months, of just receiving, like becoming as clear as possible to radiate my own frequency so that the things, the opportunities, the people that are meant to connect with me can find me, and I don't need to do anything beyond that. And so that essentially is what I offer. That is what my offering is, to help other people connect with that clear frequency for themselves so that they can receive the life of their dreams. And it's actually even greater than anyone can dream. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm really excited to be in this space.
I love that. And can you elaborate more on what finding your frequency means, or what that process of discovering looks like?
Yeah. So scientifically, and I'm a big science nerd, that's kind of the main piece within sound healing that I resonate with and have my own spin on it. And it's very deeply rooted in science. And every single person has their own unique resonant frequency. It is individual to them. It is not replicable, and it can be scientifically measured. If you've ever had an MRI, the MRI machine essentially is recalibrating itself to match the person's frequency that's inside. And once those frequencies aligned, then that's how it's able to see inside of our body. So now that we know and have established through science that everybody's frequency is unique, understanding what makes that frequency is kind of the next layer. So just at its purest core form, our bodies are a composite frequency. So every single organ, tendon, tissue, bone, all of those pieces have their own frequency. And then together within our human body creates a composite frequency. And this is a little nerdy, but stay with me. I'm almost done. Composite frequencies are changeable. They're able to be manipulated by energies that are outside of themselves. So there are static frequencies that do not change. And those are typically elements outside of ourselves, whether that's man-made or nature. The frequency of a rock is not going to be changeable. But things that have this composite frequency, they are changeable. It's kind of like in astrology when we talk about the mutable signs, they're able to be swayed and pulled in different directions. So within sound healing, when I am playing the instruments, I'm playing crystal bowls or I'm playing gongs, those are a static or fixed frequency. And what happens when we come into contact with a composite frequency, it enters into a process of entrainment. And entrainment is when the cells within the composite frequency begin to shift into a harmonic space in alignment with the static or fixed frequency. So the singing bowls that I play are pure harmonic tones. They're essentially the frequency that if we had no stress, no disease, no anything to take us out of that harmonic state, we'd be vibrating in that way. And so when you come into contact and sound healing with these pure instruments, our bodies shift into alignment with those frequencies. And then the effects last for 2 to 5 days, depending on your hydration levels. And then if you're doing that multiple times a week or every day, then you're slowly allowing your body to heal, repair, and eventually shift into a clearer resonant frequency state. That's the science behind all of it. But then if we start to think about societal programming, our childhoods, the way that we grew up, all of the information that we were learning and witnessing, because as a child, you don't know anything about life. Your viewpoint, your perspective and vantage point is the truth. As small children, we don't understand that there are differences, that the way that our parents are acting is just their own triggered state or their own personal programming. And so we watch them and we observe them and absorb that as the truth of life. And then combine that with going to school and seeing billboards and watching TV. And we're seeing all of these different perspectives that are being told to us rather than us understanding that we create our own reality, that there is actually no reality because everybody's reality is different. That inherently proves that there is no reality. So when we have all of these different perspectives and beliefs and limiting beliefs and wounds and traumas and all of the things that we experience as people, that creates different frequency strains. So if you imagine, even visually, if you can, a pure frequency, this like beautiful, clear frequency, it's very straight, direct, bright. And then with all of these different things that I've been talking about, through the entrainment process, you're being pulled in this direction because of an ambulance going by, or because there's mold exposure in your house, or because you have an internal ailment of some kind, and then add in layers of trauma and misinformation and societal expectations. And all of a sudden you have this muted and even maybe frayed frequency. So it's about understanding all of these points that are essentially energy leaks within the frequency, taking steps to remove them and bring yourself into a clear alignment. And the more you do that, the more you're able to follow that path of the frequency. Things start to make more and more sense. And the closer you get to that clear frequency, the easier it is.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful. And so in discovering your aligned composite frequency, how does one start to shift into that? Is that with singing bowls? Is that with manifestation practices and kind of going through the traumas and the limiting beliefs? Like what does that look like in practice?
Every person is going to be different. So there is no one practice that works for everyone. Especially in my space of mentorship, I am working individually with a client. Everyone is experiencing a different version of their reality, and everyone is going to need different tools to help them within that alignment space. And so I really help people to connect to themselves, to build trust with themselves. That is the biggest piece. And my favorite word is validate. I want people to just start validating themselves until there is no more validation to be had. And I feel that people don't really understand that, or they might even look at validation as like placating or pandering, or, oh, well, I don't want to indulge in that. But really, my opinion is this energy force that wants us to be out of alignment. And there's a whole system within energies of it gets its food, it gets its nourishment from people who are out of alignment. And so when we think about being in alignment, it's probably the opposite of everything that we've been doing. Our society is totally run on hustle and control and pushing. And so many people come to me and they're like, okay, this is the state of my life. I'm living in my own personal hell. How do I get out of this? But then they're not willing to release control. They're not willing to let go and try the opposite of what obviously isn't working. As a larger scale, all of your internal belief systems are then projected out into the reality. That is what you see as your reality, is everything that's happening within the subconscious space. So once you understand what that is, then you can decide, oh, actually, I don't want this in here. And you can take it out and put something else in its place. So there's that understanding the subconscious space, looking at your shadows, your inner child needs and traumas and wounds, limiting beliefs. And then within the validation space, it's exploring on that path. That's when you're kind of like a wandering river. You're meandering here and there, and you're picking up new insights and information. And just by being open, that's where the blessings and the miracles and the magic exist. That's where all the opportunities. And I had somebody reach out to me on Instagram, and yesterday I posted that I just manifested a all expenses paid 9-day vacation to Portugal. I was told, like, you don't even need to bother bringing money with you. Like, literally everything is taken care of. And this person messaged me and she was like, I've been watching your life and it's just absolutely incredible. And I don't understand how you're at that point. And I'm in this space where, like, if something, ooh, and I feel like I'm going to cry saying this, if something doesn't change, like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I have so been in that space for decades. I was in that space. I was at the whim of my own belief system, and I had no idea how to escape it. And then now I've shifted into this space where I can see it kind of in retrospect, this like, oh, if I had let go of control so much earlier, or if I had just trusted myself when I had that thought or that idea, I may have gotten here sooner. And so that is what I'm helping people do, is to kind of skip all of that time that I went through and was beautiful, but it doesn't need to take that long either.
Wow, that is exactly what I meant when I said you're so much more than a sound healer. And it's so cool to hear that process too, because I know you as someone who is so connected to yourself and so willing to evolve into the next version of yourself. And I know that's challenging and that comes with its own hurdles, but you take it head on and you do the work you need to do. And it's especially cool because this work, and I want to ask you what it's like to facilitate this kind of work, because I can only imagine how much personal work it's taken to get to this point, to offer something that is so unique, but so deeply aligned with you.
And so simple. To hold the space is very profound. It is, like I said, it's an honor for me to witness the other person. And I really feel that sound healing helped me the most within this, to be able to do this, because as a facilitator and as I taught you, you are not the thing in sound healing. And this is even for anyone that either is a sound healer or is thinking of becoming a sound healer. And if you don't agree, then I would suggest that you reevaluate. You are not important in a sound bath. The most that you should be doing within a sound bath is consideration. And that's another thing that I would like to implore more sound healers with, is have more consideration about how the frequency is being received. And that can be also in anything, any aspect of your life. Have consideration for how your frequency is being received by the world around you. And that will immediately start to shift things. Once I really understood that, wow, I'm like holding something way bigger than myself, and that is absolutely its own purest expression of its own frequency, I need to take a step back. Like, I need to remove my ego. I need to be at the background of this and allow it to be on its own. And I can share the wisdom that I have that has worked for me in my perspective. And that's the most that I can do. I also bring in other perspectives. I bring in other teachings, things that maybe aren't fully what I would do, but I can see that what I'm doing for the person in front of me is not really gelling. It's not about me. It's about the other person and how can I help them to align with themselves. It takes that observer part of the mind. So observation is an amazing sense. And I feel like it is another sense. It is a bigger sense beyond our body's sensations. It is known, it is said to be located at the back of the head. At the back of the head, when you are lying down and where your head would touch the pillow or the floor beneath you, that's the general area where the observer mind exists. And there are lots of texts that partner the observer mind with the seat of the soul. This is your greater awareness outside of yourself. And over time, you can strengthen this. You can cultivate your observer sense. So by doing that, you will eventually be able to stay in the present moment for longer durations. You have the understanding that any judgment or bias or opinion, or even your personal will, your desire for something, is a limitation. It's not even really necessary. And that compassion and understanding of other people is heightened. And you are a neutral observer. It doesn't affect you. You're kind of just sitting there watching a screen of like, oh yeah, that makes sense. How interesting. It's totally neutral. It's absolutely validating. It's like the most validating piece of our awareness. And there's nothing else that needs to be done. You just observe. And that has literally saved my life at different points because I struggled with depression for a long time. And I would get to the point of suicidal ideation. It was never attempted suicide, but I would ruminate around all the possibilities of what that would look like, or just even feeling like I don't want to be alive. There's even sadness for that part of my life. But by strengthening the sense of observation, it didn't matter how deep I went into those dark and scary places, because the observer mind was like a tether for me. I could see myself outside of myself and almost allow myself to explore the farthest reaches of these depths and know that it's okay. And I'm not really going to be doing anything about this. This isn't my reality. This is just a piece of me that feels this way.
Yeah.
And that was a huge game changer. So I essentially, in sessions and in sound healing and in everything that I do, I am the observer.
Wow, that's powerful. I love that. And I was thinking as you were explaining this, if you told me about the observer mind a year and a half ago, I'd be like, okay, I don't know if I have the patience for meditation, or how I don't even really understand what you're saying. I'm curious what you can offer listeners to just start to explore that observer mind, to get a little comfortable in that space.
It is my 3-minute meditation. And it's not even mine. It's just a concept that I have come up with of sitting in silence for 3 minutes. That is all you need. You do not need to sit for 20 minutes twice a day or these long stretches of time. 3 minutes is absolutely enough. But the pieces that are imperative are that you are sitting, that it is silent, and that you cultivate your sense of observation. Those are the only things that you need. And by cultivating, so let's walk through an example. I use my phone, I put 3 minutes on the timer, I hit start, I'm sitting, close my eyes, and I just start to tune into my 5 senses. I'm listening to everything that I can hear. I'm noticing anything that I feel on the surface of my skin or inside of my body. Are there any smells that are lingering? Are there any tastes in my mouth that are lingering? What do I see behind the eyelids? Is it black, or do I see swirling colors, or do I see a little beam of light that's shining in from the window? It's just noticing within the senses. Anytime that we're connected to the senses of the body, we're in the present moment. As soon as I start to wander, then I'm thinking about what I have to do, or I'm thinking about how my back is a little bit stiff. All I have to do in that point is create the awareness of, oh, I drifted, come back. That's it. As you do that, it strengthens that part of the mind. And then eventually you're just in observation. And it takes however long it takes. People often ask me, why is it only 3 minutes? Like, that seems really short. My alarm always goes off so fast. And I feel like by the time the alarm goes off, I'm just now able to settle in to the observer. And I said, well, when you can settle into the observer at the beginning and last for 3 minutes, then you can make it longer.
I love that. It reminds me of running too. And if you want to run 10 miles, but you've never run one, there's just no way. And it's a practice and it's consistency in this space when it's a non tangible accomplishment or goal or way of being. Consistency, I feel like, is intention and consistency. Seems like the big wins here.
Big wins. And giving yourself a task that is manageable.
I wanted to hop on here to take this opportunity to do a 3-minute meditation. Something really important to me is finding ways to incorporate these tools that we're talking about. So while it may be uncomfortable, please join me in this 3 minutes. If you're driving, of course, please do not meditate, and use this opportunity as just a time to sit with yourself and be. So for the next 3 minutes, let's be here. Taking an inhale in through the nose and out through the mouth. Again, we'll inhale through the nose and out the mouth. Finding yourself in a comfortable position. Allowing yourself to just be here now. Knowing you are exactly where you need to be. Connecting with your body. Noticing any areas that maybe feel more tension. Can you find a way to relax, let go? Maybe sending a breath and some oxygen to that part of your body. And if you haven't heard this recently, you are worthy. You are important. You are doing great. Notice your heartbeat. Always there to connect you back to yourself, to your own rhythm. And just like that, those were 3 minutes. So thank you. for showing up for yourself. And let's continue with the episode.
I think it was 88% of people fall off of their New Year's resolution within 3 weeks. And it's because people put these like way lofty goals that they're just not, their energetic capacity is not at that place. So do less. That's even like another tool that I've developed is my embodiment blueprint. It's micro tasks to get you to where you want to go, not these huge tasks. I'll have clients that come in and they're like, I want $10,000 months because I also want to be a coach and I want to be making more money, but they don't think about all of those steps. They just want to go to the finished goal. But by doing all of those pieces, you're expanding your frequency range. If we think about a Wi-Fi signal, there's bandwidth. We all know that word. You pay a certain amount for bandwidth. The more bandwidth you have, the clearer the signal, the farther it can reach. If you have a really narrow bandwidth because it's filled up with your job and your family and the stress and all of your inner traumas that you've never looked at and everything that I was talking about before, you can't then add in this like extra piece of I want $10,000 business that I've never attempted before. You need to slowly increase your bandwidth to be able to do that. And that's not only increasing, but clearing and making space. If your trauma from your past is a huge piece of your bandwidth, you're not going to be able to fit in the positive opposite that you're trying to call in.
Hearing that, I'm really thinking of your frequency mentorship, and to put it in a tangible kind of comparison. It's like, oh, I want this external life. I want the coaching business. I want 10K months because I see that on Instagram. But if it's not truly in alignment with who you are and where you're going, that will fade. But we can build that attachment to it. And that's that negative energy. That's that, oh, I'm not going anywhere. I'm stuck. How can I be like you? I don't get it. And all of that dampens our excitement and our true alignment, our true selves. And so I'm just so excited for the work that you're doing, because it's really chipping away at all the external noise to then do your deeper healing, to get through to yourself and be like, oh, okay, now I feel good about starting small in this space, because I know, I trust that I'm getting the lessons I need. I'm doing all the growth that I need in that space. And so all that trust is going to turn into whatever it needs to for me.
That was like the biggest ding, ding, ding. Yes, exactly. Totally, totally. And then within your life and what you're calling in, it's kind of the same thing. Your ego, your will, the things that you think that you want for your life is not needed.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be led. Have that is part of this like receiving energy, the passive abundance that I'm really deeply entrenched in right now, but exploring and getting to understand even more so that I can share it with others. But the more that you can remove yourself and be connected to the observer mind and allow yourself to be led by what is outside of yourself. So you're following the things that you're excited about, your curiosity, you're allowing yourself to meander down that winding river, but then all of a sudden you look up and you've been led in this whole other direction into this beautiful, abundant life that you could literally never have even thought about before. If someone had told me when I was working, like literally killing myself, my body was dying slowly as a chef for the celebrities in Los Angeles, and I thought that I had made it, and I'm going to make a YouTube cooking show, and I'm going to be on all these places, and I was pushing so hard my own will. 2 years later, I live in the jungle and I'm a sound healer and I'm working with frequency, and it's like, wait a minute. I didn't even know about sound healing at that point. So it's like, open yourself up, let go. You're not in control. There is no such thing as control. Control does not exist. It is perceived. And most people are in their life in this space through controlling. So let go of the control and let yourself be led.
Wow, I love that. And something else to call out in what you're saying is you can really tell when something's not working for you because you're putting all your energy, you're putting in so much of yourself, and you can feel that it's not matching, that it's not lighting you up, that you're not evolving and growing and just emanating joy. You're miserable and you're tired and you're frustrated and
And you're
you're
not making money. Yeah. There's like nothing even coming back to you.
totally. And so it's like the ego wants that instant gratification. It wants to be recognized. It wants everything to be perfect and controlled. And I keep coming back to this whole discussion is practicing that observer mind helps you let go, helps you not focus on forcing what isn't working. It helps you acknowledge that forcing that thing isn't working. And maybe then it can open up to what is meant for you.
Exactly. I don't do anything anymore in my business. I show up fully for what I am invited to, but I don't market. I don't have a content strategy. I don't put out the newsletters. I don't promote myself. I'm not pitching articles and trying to get my name out there. I'm not going to studios and asking for classes and outlining workshops that would be valuable for their client. I don't do any of that. Everything comes to me out of the blue. I am invited. And if it feels in alignment, I show up. And that's it. It's like this beautiful cyclical energy of, oh, I receive and I show up. And that's it. I don't need to push and try.
When you're fighting against something, going against the grain or putting in all your energy and effort, that's a good indicator that you're probably not in alignment. You're probably not doing something that's good for you. And it could be challenging to pull away from that. That's why we're talking about that observer mindset and really expanding your perspective on something and letting yourself find other ways of being. But I know it's not always easy to just take everything away that's causing stress. And sometimes there are big triggers in life that redirect us. I wonder if you can kind of speak to when something just blows up on you and kind of redirecting your effort and energy.
Yeah. I mean, when things are blowing up, that's the rug being pulled out. It's the universe or divine energy, God, whatever you want to call it, being like, okay, I've been giving you signs. I've been trying to get your attention. You are not in alignment. So we're starting from scratch. And that for me was when I was working as a chef and I wasn't really paying attention. I was so overworked, but I was really caught up in the ego and the title of being a celebrity chef and the amount of money that I was making. And those two things were acting as these like blinders. Meanwhile, my body was crumbling. Every free time moment I was spending all and a lot of the money that I was making just to rehabilitate my body so that I could show up for work the next day. And I was fired by every single client that I ever had. And they would come to me in this very passive way, word of mouth. Oh, so and so recommended me, or I was at a dinner party at so and so's house and I loved your food. Could I hire you? And so I kept feeling like, oh, this is the direction because it's coming in so easy. But then within the job itself was so difficult. I was crazily overworked, not valued as an individual person with thoughts. I was like as useful as the teapot on the stove. Then inevitably I would be fired. And it was never anything that I did. It was just, oh, we've decided to go to Italy for the rest of the year, or oh, we're actually we decided not to have a chef for a little bit to save money, or whatever the situation was. But I was fired every single time. And so looking back, it's like, okay, those were the signs. Every time that I was let go was an opportunity for me to, oh, actually, in all of my free time, I'm focused on spirituality and healing, and I'm literally healing myself. So I could have followed that direction, but then the test would come through and it would be an even bigger celebrity and I'd get attached to that. And so I'd go back. And then it all blew up when my body literally collapsed and I ended up in the emergency room and I had to have surgery. And that whole situation is what forced me to shift into spirituality and sound healing. And so even though it was, oh my God, it was the most painful experience. It was so difficult, but it was so important and it was necessary. But I allowed myself to change. I allowed for the direction to shift. And so when people hold on too tightly, they're holding on to this identity of themselves. They're holding on to a belief system that was passed down from generations, or they're holding on to the societal expectations of, oh, I'm supposed to be this way and do this thing and have this job and this family in this exact manner, where it's like, no, you can create whatever life you want to. You just have to be willing to let go of control.
Yeah. And just to highlight what you said, because you mentioned you kept getting this test that you would be hired again for another role. And I know that's a to be magnetic term, these tests when you're out of alignment and it's kind of showing you, hey, you can either switch out of this, or if you keep going, like it's your test to accept or not accept. And the challenge will come if you kind of stay on this course. And so from your story, it was maybe abandoning those tests into a point where your body's like, fine, if you're not going to take it, I'll give it to you, and
Exactly.
forced you to redirect. And I know from knowing you that, yeah, that's how you got into sound healing. And even that wasn't the, full on force of what you offer today. So even while you were sick and recuperating and getting connected to sound, that was kind of just the beginning of this sound and frequency exploration for you, which I think is so important too for people when you're in this space, when you're feeling low, circling the drain, however you want to call it, and you get these little nudges like, oh, this feels good, but sometimes you can't imagine how much more is going to come from those little tugs in the right direction. And just hearing everything that you're doing now, living in Costa Rica, offering a huge sound healer training so soon, it's incredible. It's incredible how that low really helped you transform your life. I wanted to ask you about your upcoming sound healer training, what that journey looks like, when it is, and who it's for.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. This is literally a dream come true. And it is a week-long retreat here in Nosara, Costa Rica, where I live, at a beautiful 5-star resort called Bodhi Tree Yoga Resort. It's right on the beach on the Pacific Ocean, the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen in my life. It's literal jungle, monkeys, lizards, butterflies, the whole gambit. And I'm co-hosting it with a friend. Her name is Kate Schofield. She is an amazing sound healer, and she also does vocal toning. So both of us hold so much deep wisdom, and we're equally really frustrated with all of the Become a Sound Healer this weekend trainings that we kept seeing promoted. And just through hanging out and like kind of talking about this, that the respect for the science, there's actual real science that is happening in almost even a medical way. And if you don't know how to handle or direct that energy, it can actually be harmful. And there's no way to teach that to the capacity that's necessary within a 2-day weekend training. Within a short training like that, you're learning how to play instruments. Anybody can play a singing bowl, but to be a sound healer and to really understand what the power is that you're working with, and then who are you as a person? What is your unique lens and angle? How do you want to show up in the world? Why do you want to be a sound healer? The history of the lineage of sound healing and all of the different ways that it's interacting with our brainwave states and the cellular entrainment, and then the actual practical aspects of, yes, you do need to learn how to play the instruments, but it's not that difficult, and you can even vouch for that. And there's just so much more beyond, I'm going to play this circle around this bowl. There are even lots of different styles of sound healing. Mine is very hypnotic. There are other healers where it's connected to shamanism and it's more of a sound journey. People include drums and chanting, and there's lots of different ways that you can go with it. So really opening people's eyes and experiencing. That's the main focus of this retreat, is to experience the frequency in as many different capacities as possible. We're going on a waterfall hike, and we're going to have guest teachers come in and talk about not only the land that we're hosting this retreat on, but the frequency. What is the power of Nosara, and how can that inform and help you connect to that deeper ancestral healer that's within you? If you're interested in being a sound healer, that connection is there. And then your last question was, who is this for? And it is for anybody. You do not need to be a musician. You do not need to be in a spiritual field of work. You don't even need to want to be a professional sound healer. And we have a range of all different types of people. There are a handful of people that are like, I don't plan on or really want to have this as my profession, but I am so interested in either learning about the history of it and how it works, or I want to heal myself. That's a big one. So it is for anyone that is interested. The only requirement is that you have 3 singing bowls that you bring with you. And we're helping people to find the training set that works for them. And it's very easy to fly with the singing bowls. That's the next question. So I'll just answer that for you right now. But that is all that you need, is a minimum of 3 bowls, and then an open mind and just the openness to learn something that is greater than yourself.
Wow, I'm so excited for that, and for everyone who is joining that retreat and that facilitator training. And that totally resonates with me. When I sought out training with you, I wasn't even sure why. I was just like, I need to learn more from this person. There's so much depth that I'm experiencing without knowing when I attend your classes. And it's, yeah, just speaking to those trainer in a weekend, I think that appeals to that external validation. Oh, I can be a sound healer. That's kind of cool. And especially in LA, it's a cool job and people look glamorous. And becoming a healer is a lot of doing your own healing work. And so working with Tess is incredible, and you'll go into all those nooks and crannies and be so much stronger, brighter, in alignment because of it. So that training is not just let me learn how to play bowls. It's who am I really? And how does that show when I'm not in alignment? How can I heal myself to know how to come back into alignment? Because it's not just I'm 100% perfectly in alignment all the time. It's how do I get myself back as fast as I can?
Yeah. Oh, I've drifted. Come back.
Yeah. And that's that muscle. Well, I know you have a Substack. How can people find you and learn more from you?
Yeah, thank you. I forgot about that piece. I don't often remember to promote myself. So you can find me everywhere, essentially, at Completely Golden. Completely Golden is my business name, and that is my website. That is my Instagram, all one word, Completely Golden. And then I have been exploring Substack. And for those of you who don't know what Substack is, it's essentially like a new format of a blog where I have different offerings, from written content to podcasts. And I also upload pre-recorded meditations and sound baths. And it's a subscription model. So it's $8 a month and you get access to all of it. I have every other week a moon update, whether that's the full moon or new moon. Every month is a manifestation expansion share, some process that I've been working through to help others expand, re-releases of my former podcast, as well as new podcast episodes that I'm on, and a lot more. So if you're interested, that's a great way to just kind of dip your toe and ease into this world of self-healing.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Well, yeah, looking forward to all the things that you continue journeying as a manifesting generator too. And I'll see what you're up to in 6 months and 12 months. But again, yeah, thank you for sharing today.
My pleasure, and equally excited to see where you are and watch this podcast take off.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.